This is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C924, the final Elijah Craig Barrel Proof of the year, and the one of the three that I think people look forward to mostly to be the big hitter, or since the label change, the one everyone hopes to have a high age statement. Well, the C924 label sports an 11-year and 0-month age statement on the label. In comparison, the A batch was 10 years, 9 months, and the B batch was 11 years, 2 months. So will the C924 be the best of 2024? Let's find out right now. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, and help me keep climbing to that 100,000 subscriber milestone here in 2024. Appreciate the support, everybody. So, by this point, everyone knows about the changes that Heaven Hill made to the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Bourbon brand last year. Starting with batch B523, the company announced they were removing the 12-year age statement and instead went with a fluctuating age statement for each batch. Now, since then, the youngest batch was 10 years, 9 months, and the oldest was 13 years, 7 months. Now, remember, whatever is on the label is most likely just the youngest bourbon in the batch, not necessarily the oldest. All right, so let's dive in here. All right, so the stats of the newest batch comes in at 11 years and 0 months. The proof is 129 right on the dot. As always, this is non-chill filtered and it retails for an SRP of $74.99. Now, I know everyone wants to compare it to the A124 and the B524, and we will do that on a future episode this week with my triple base episode where I put all three against each other blind. So we'll see who wins on top. I have not compared them yet, and this is only my second sip of this one, so we'll see how it opened up. So let's dive in. Here we go. So if I remember correctly, batch A, to me, was very spice-driven. Batch B was also spicy, but also sweet. This, the C924 so far, it's very sweet on the nose. All those rich brown sugar, caramels, heavy vanillas you get in Elijah Craig Barrel Proof are all here. That Heaven Hill kind of peanut buttery, that sweet peanut butter type note is there as well. Barrel char, the oak is definitely present. There's some baking spice here too. I think I'm picking up kind of a little bit of a light nutmeg in here, probably a hint of cinnamon as well, but more of a nutmeg allspice I feel like I'm getting. It's not super spicy. Again, it's a little bit more sweet, but I do feel like this comes off with a little bit more age on it. Even though it's 11 years, 0 months, I'm wondering if there could be some older whiskey in here. But all right, let's give it a taste. Here we go. Cheers. A straight up peanut butter cookie in a glass. The proof here, I mean, it hits 129 proof. You do get a pretty decent burn here on the back end, but that tastes like a straight up peanut butter cookie to me. Vanilla extract, peanut butter, a peanut butter cookie with some oak chips in it. I don't know if you got, that sounds good at all, but I'm just saying that's what it's coming off to me like. It actually almost comes off like an older Booker's from Jim Beam type of profile, where it gives you a heavier, nutty profile, which I know, yeah, we definitely do get that with Heaven Hill sometimes, but I feel like this is a little bit more on the, on the extreme of that spectrum. I mean, sometimes you get that in the middle, but you get a lot of brown sugar, you get a lot of vanilla, sometimes you get a lot of rich dark fruit flavors. Those are really my favorite ECBPs, but for this one, it's more of a peanut profile, or like a pecan or a walnut, whatever type of, nuttiness you want to call it. Yeah, it's a little drying. I'm actually wishing that it has more sweetness here. It's actually it's really just those peanut flavors. I mean, the brown sugar is there. The nose came off a little bit sweeter than I thought the palate would. And while I enjoy it, I don't know. I think just from memory, I feel like B524 might be a little bit more of an elevated experience than this one is. I just feel like the things that I love about Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is just kind of dropping off on the mid palate. As much as I think the finish is kind of the best part of this one. You get a nice long finish here. That oak presence with that peanut butter cookie is really driving the flavors of this bourbon here. I think this takes that nuttiness that Heaven Hill gives you, and it's very, very strong to me in the C924. It's less sweet, it's a little bit more dry, almost salted, like a salted peanut note I get. a little bit dry on the back end. Salted pecan, salted peanut, kind of like that mix. I will say the sweetness, I think, comes in the way of a little bit, like I said, that little bit of a peanut butter cookie type note. You get your vanilla, a little bit of brown sugar, but really the nuttiness here just kind of takes over. It gives it a little bit more of a drying experience. It's not my favorite Elijah Craig Barrel Proof that I've had. It's not hitting me on the palate in the places that I would love an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof to do so. So I just feel like it's missing a little bit of the sweetness. It's missing that dark fruit characteristic. Again, it's more of a heavy nuttiness type of flavor profile. That peanut butter cookie, some spice, a little bit of cinnamon there, and nutmeg. But that salted character that it has to it, I just feel like it's drying my palate out a little bit. Yeah, it makes me wonder if there's some older whiskey in here because of that aspect, the oak and the drying aspect that it has on the back of the palate. I just feel like it needs more sweetness to balance that out. I'm always looking for balance, and I just feel like it's missing a little bit more of the elevated sweetness and the dark fruit notes that I come to expect from a really good Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Is it still a solid bourbon? Of course. You know, an 11-year bourbon for sub $100, but you know, everybody wants to, you know, nitpick every single one of these. It's still a fantastic bourbon, but I think depending on what you're used to with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and what you like, I don't know. I don't think this one's gonna hit the mark for many folks unless you really like that nutty profile that Heaven Hill has and a little bit of like that drying oak aspect. Yeah, it just makes me wonder what that oldest bourbon is in this batch. And it's staying consistent. I'm waiting for it to like get a little sweeter, open up a bit. It's just not hitting me. All right, I gotta think about this one. Final breakdown. All right, final breakdown for the Elijah Craig C924, 11 years, 0 months old, 129 proof. Price for this one as usual, $74.99. Resale market value, depending on the batch, these could be upcharged to about $150, but we don't really know what this is gonna be for this batch. But based on what I'm tasting here, I don't think we're gonna have that issue with this one. Availability here, I'm gonna say what I always say, it's wonky. You just don't know where these are gonna show up, when, what time frame. Do they still sell fast? Yes, but sometimes you'll get it the month that you're supposed to, like September. Sometimes you get it in October. Sometimes some folks don't see them till the following year. So availability for me on these are always wonky. Value is where I think people are having a struggle with the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof nowadays, and I don't really see why they should. I think, in my mind, we had a 12-year age statement on Elijah Craig Barrel Proof for so long, and then it gets taken away, and then we feel like we're not getting it at the value that we used to. So people look for either the price, they look for quality to go down, and they look for other aspects to kind of hate on the bottle. A good correlation for this mindset, I think, is Remus Repeal Reserve. Batch 5, Roman numeral 5, whatever you want to call it, had a lot of high-age whiskey in it. It was an anniversary blend, but everybody wants to compare every single release to that release. And I feel like now that we had C923 with that high-age batch, everyone's going to want to compare all the batches to that release, which I'm guilty of it too, and I get it. And I think there are some out there that think, well, Heaven Hill has enough stock, they can do that. Well, you got to remember, even though they probably do have the stock to do it, there might be stocks that are earmarked for other, you know, releases that they have going down the pipeline. So we just don't know. However, at 11 years, barrel proof, again, with 11 years being the youngest bourbon in the batch, I would still say that this is a good value. The most I pay for this one, I'm gonna go retail. If I'm gonna buy this, nothing in this bottle that I'm tasting is warranting me to spend more than I have to. Alternatives for this one is interesting because I think the best alternatives are actually going to be Jim Beam products, Knob Creek single barrels. I think that could go right head to head with this. The proof here is 129. The proofs on those are about 120. Also Booker's. You have Booker's batches that I think can go head to head with this one as well. It's got that similar type of profile to me. And lastly, is this a skip, a try before you buy, or a buy and back it up? I don't know. This one isn't really my favorite. I would say, you know, it's kind of disappointing because, you know, I kind of look forward to C924, the C batches, I should say, all year long. And, you know, you always feel like C is going to be the best one. But I think, I don't know, at 75 at retail, I still feel like people will pick this one up just because it's a really great bourbon for a good price. However, if you're a little bit more stingy on what you're going to spend, this one might be a try before you buy. Try it at a buddy's house. try it somewhere else before spending the money on it. I don't know. I just think the profile is lacking something for me. So yeah, this one's not a complete home run, but it's still a solid bourbon. But I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you guys say. Are you only buying these if they're home runs? But for this one, for the C924, I don't know. Not my favorite. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this review for the new Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C924. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, find me on Instagram. Let me know what you think about my tasting notes. You know, I think everybody wants to say, oh, it's the end of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I don't think that by any means. I think there'll be plenty of great batches to come from Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. However, I just think this one lacks a little something for me. I do think the B524 was really delicious, so we'll see how it goes. But, you know, compared, now I know I wasn't like that high on B524 in the beginning, but as it's opened up, it's gotten a little better. And I think I do prefer it over this profile, but we'll see how it goes in the blind tasting. So with that said, like I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here on the Master and Drum. Let's go Mets. They're in the playoffs. Cheers, guys.